In this video, we're going to talk about the rumors circulated by Jason Schreier and Eurogamer about a new Assassin's Creed game that'll be coming out in late 2022 or early 2023. Subscribe to the Linus Wilson channel where we give you the secrets to crush Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So, Jason Schreier, he's like the journalist of the gaming industry, works for Bloomberg, and I put a lot of weight on stuff he says, and I think he's a true access journalist, and his sourcing is good. So I trust what he has to say mostly, and Eurogamer seemed to back him up, saying that they also had sources that were talking about these things, and so he's saying that there's going to be a Basim protagonist game, and Eurogamer is saying that it's going to take place in Baghdad, where Basim is from. So Basim is the true assassin in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. He also might be considered an antagonist if you get to the end of the game. So I think the secret may be out now that Basim is Loki in Valhalla, and so by the time that game comes out or that expansion comes out, you probably know that. I think this is a good thing. My personal take is that I think that their idea of having a 2-year release schedule has not been totally successful. If you look at the achievements on Xbox, and I think you'll see similar things on the trophies, the achievements on Xbox are telling me that only about far less than 10% of the people that play the main game of Valhalla or bought the main game of Valhalla actually played the season pass. That they didn't play, like 6% or less, played a significant portion of the Wrath of the Druids DLC, and a similar numbers played the Siege of Paris DLC. So I'm pretty sure that the Dawn of Ragnarok DLC is going to do even worse. That it's expensive, it's $40. I personally think they should make it possible for you to buy the Dawn of Ragnarok for $40, which I've already done. I bought the Ultimate Edition. I'm not the marginal buyer for this game, but $40 for just a DLC is kind of expensive. $25, I would have said okay, but $40's a little expensive. $40 was the price of the season pass last year, and they're only promising us Dawn of Ragnarok. But I think that, if they had a fourth expansion where they're trying to charge $40, not many people are going to buy it. Maybe I would buy it. Some select people, hardcore fans, are going to buy it, but most people are not. And, Valhalla had a really good run. They had like a really 2021 was the weakest year in gaming in a long time. In terms of the game releases, there were not a lot of super strong game releases. This month alone, the month of February 2022, has more great RPG games coming out than all of 2021. Like, all the good releases were in 2020, and then almost nothing was in 2021, or just kind of okay but not great RPGs out there. And then in 2022, we're just getting buried in these things. So Dying Light 2 is just destroying it. The free-to-play Lost Ark is destroying it. There's overwhelming excitement about the new releases, Horizon Forbidden West, and also the game based on From Software. I can't remember the name at the moment. It's brain blank. Anyways, there's a huge amount of games coming out this month of February that are going to appeal to people that love RPG games, story-driven RPG, action RPG games, and that's really flattened Valhalla, which did not release any new content this month of February. In anticipation of Dawn of Ragnarok, I don't know. But I think, if they're going to have this Basim game that takes place in Baghdad, I think it makes more sense to make it a standalone game than to make it an expansion of Valhalla. Because if you make an expansion of Valhalla, Valhalla is so big that nobody will ever get to the expansion, right? People get lost in Valhalla in the main game, And so if you have an expansion at this point, and they've sort of done that with Dawn of Ragnarok, that you can start a new character and level them up to like level 320 and start a new Dawn of Ragnarok. That's a good step, but an even better step that they could make with Dawn of Ragnarok, and they're making the big step with the supposed Basim Rift game, which is supposed to be less, the size of Siege of Paris. So I don't know if they're going to charge you $40 or they're going to charge you $60. And it's supposed to be more stealth focused and less of an open world. We'll see how it goes. It seemed like all the things in Schreier's article kind of like teased at all the people that were like, we got to go back to the Ezio trilogy. Okay, fine, whatever. I mean, you could buy the Ezio trilogy or whatever, right? That's coming out on Switch. You can play it on Switch right now, or not now, but in a week. But anyways, I think it's good. I personally think it's good because from my perspective, I would like more people playing the Assassin's Creed games. I'd like them more playing Valhalla. I think if we're talking about this Baghdad expansion with Basim, right? And Basim's the true assassin of the game. And he's the assassin at the end of the game too, right? He's the head of the assassins at the end of the game. So, maybe he is the bad guy. I don't know. It's nice to have complex characters. Eivor is such a boring character. And I also think we don't really know if Odin is a good guy or a bad guy. We kind of think he's a bad guy. Definitely a gray guy. He's not like... None of these people are black and white in Valhalla. And so that you kind of think of Basim more on the black side than on the white side. In terms of good guys are white, black and white, that type of thing. But, he seems to... Basim seems more on the dark side in the parlance of Star Wars. But, maybe he's not. Maybe he's not so awful, right? Maybe there's some more nuance to him. I'm open to that. I'm also open to know more about what's going on with Odin, which I think we're going to figure out more with the Dawn of Ragnarok, which is probably not a secret if you're a fan of Norse mythology. But, I think it's unfortunate that you have to buy Valhalla and buy Dawn of Ragnarok. I think it's a good move to say, for this fourth major expansion, maybe you could just buy that separately and just play that separately. Because I also like that it's still kind of in the Valhalla time period. I like the time period they're in. I like the kind of the weapon set they're in. So I think it's cool. And, I think it would have to be a prequel, personally, to the what's going on in Valhalla. So it'd have to be like 20 years earlier, max 30 years earlier. But you're basically the same type of time period. If you're going to be in Baghdad with Basim. I mean, how old is Basim? 40 max, right? So, I mean, that's when Eivor knows him. Of course, he's kind of old by the end of the game. But when, before he meets Eivor and Sigurd, he's maximum 30, 40, right? So I think it'll be really cool to do that. And I think that, allowing people to just buy that separately and just do that as a separate piece instead of having to buy that out of Valhalla, because I think a lot of people, most of the people that have bought Valhalla back in November 10th, 2020, they are not playing the game right now, right? And they're not going to play an expansion, right? Most of them didn't play the previous two expansions, which had a much better chance of finding them. Since then, they've added a lot of free content, which also kind of bogs people down in the game too. I get a lot of questions about people that are confused about, like, should I play this? Should I play that? And I probably should do a video just like, what you should play in Valhalla first and second and third and fifth. Because there's so much of this free DLC, which is very large, which will never get you to the end of the game, that could, keep people in the game, which is great. So they want to have people in the game They want to have people playing it. They want to have people also buying skins from their Helix store. But, trying to get somebody to buy a third major expansion at this point is really tough. A fourth seems like just insanity to me. So I think that it makes sense that if they have a fourth major expansion in the works, sell that as a standalone $40 game would make sense to me. I think they should do the same for Dawn of Ragnarok. They still have time. They still have a month. They could say, hey, buy Dawn of Ragnarok separately or as an expansion. If you buy it separately, we'll give you a discount on buying Valhalla. I mean, right now, you could pick up Valhalla for $30 almost every place. And, sometimes I've seen sales as low as $20. So you could buy the base game of Valhalla for $20. So if they say you buy Dawn of Ragnarok for $40, and then you pay $20 more and you can get all of Valhalla, and you play Dawn of Ragnarok first and the rest second, that's a win for Ubisoft. I mean, that's a definite win for them at this point, because they're not going to get much more than $30 for the base game and $50, if they're lucky enough, for the gold edition, which will give you the first year season pass with the Siege of Paris expansion and the Wrath of the Druids Ireland expansion. Subscribe to the Linus Wilson channel. We give you the secrets to crush Assassin's Creed Valhalla.